Hello guys, I'm here. Just finished episode 6 of the final season of Arrow, and just like the previous episodes leading up to this point, if you haven't seen tonight's episode, there will be spoilers going forward, so I would recommend tuning out, watching the episode, and then coming back once you have, because I'd love to get your thoughts about it so we can carry on a conversation about it in the comments. So that's going to be the last warning. I'm going to go ahead and dive into what I thought about the episode now. So this episode, I actually really enjoyed it. It's not something new. It's a premise we've seen quite a lot. The episode's called Reset, and it's the typical kind of Groundhog Day episode. After Oliver and team was tranquilized after the reveal that Lila has been in cahoots with the Monitor last episode, Oliver wakes up in an alternate reality where he's part of some Star City Council. The future kids are here for whatever reason because it doesn't seem to match up their ages with the time period this is actually taking place in, but there's a lot of things in this version of reality that don't quite add up. But Oliver's told he's late for an event being held for the mayor. I think it's some kind of charity event. I can't quite remember what the event's actually for, but he shows up, he goes to the event, finds John and Lila there, seemingly not knowing what had gone on previously or that there was a different version of what they remember happened versus what Oliver remembers. So that gets distracted once he realizes that the mayor that he's there for this event is Quentin Lance. Paul Blackthorne back, a presence very much missed from the show. And just Oliver trying to process all of this all at once is just interesting. But while he's talking to Quentin, they're notified that the police station has been taken over. There's a hostage situation at the police station. And they're demanding that the mayor come as part of the hostage negotiation. So kind of to try to help prevent what's going on or get involved, Oliver goes down, suits up, and tries to, as Quentin's entering the building, he's going to come in from the back and try to take out the people holding everybody hostage. And he gets to that point, gets to the final little bit, and he takes out all the guys, takes the gun out of the one dude's hand who seems to be holding it up right up to Quentin as he's talking to him, keeping him distracted while Oliver's doing his thing. But in the last minute, guy whips out a detonator from his vest and presses the button, and an explosion erupts from under the police station, killing Oliver and Quentin all at the same time. And that's where we have the crux of the reset. After the explosion, after the death of Quentin and Oliver in that moment, Oliver wakes up at the same moment, late for the same party and all of that. And this is where the cycle repeats. Knowing what's going to happen now, he tries to go about it a different way. Now that he knows that there's a bomb there, he goes to try to defuse that first, running into Laurel, who is the only other person that seems to remember what happened before, because she is experiencing her own time loop where Oliver's waking up in his apartment, she's waking up in the bunker. And now they're both kind of working together to figure out this time loop. They fail to stop the bomb from detonating, and they both die, and they're pretty much just like, oh, we'll see you in the next reset. And then they meet up. And it's kind of this kind of repeating process until they determine that the key factor here is the reset seems to happen whenever Quentin dies. And we learn throughout that Lila is actually involved because they follow the threads of who the bomber is, who's setting up the hostage situation, all that to prevent it through these entire little investigations to the point where Lila has to break her cover because she's remembered everything the whole time. She is the only other plant in this reality that remembers what has been going on because, of course, she's working with the Monitor. And even the one time that they were the most successful, she turns her and shows her colors and is like, Oliver, you are missing the entire point of why you're here, why you're in this moment. And she shoots Lance, causing the reset. And then they go through it all again and again and again. And then, it comes to a point where Lance gets shot and they pull him off. And there's this nice moment with Laurel where she's comforted him as he's going because he doesn't instantly die in that moment. He's bleeding out. And they have this sweet emotional moment where she finally gets to tell him, I love you, the things that she always wanted to say to him that she never got to because of where she was in that moment and how he passed. And that was her consolation. After he died there, after that reset, she didn't respawn into the next one. As Oliver learns that was from Lila in the second one, she's like, you've got to learn why you're in this. He's putting you through this as another test. And this was really, Laurel was getting this as a reward. He did this, invited her into this time loop that Oliver is experiencing as a way for her to say, the goodbyes to Quentin that she never got to say, which was really sweet. And I love how that all panned out, and it actually shows that the Monitor does kind of care. And he is kind of been on Oliver's side this entire time, despite how he's been presenting things. So those kind of, we'll get into it here in a little bit. I'll start talking about that a little bit more. But Oliver goes through it again. He's like, no, I will not give up. I will not stop fighting this. I will save Quentin in this world and try to figure out what it is he's supposed to learn here. And he has this nice little moment where he's talking to Quentin about, their past, where he used to hunt him down, why he decided to trust him or all that. And, why Quentin had always had these near-death kind of moments, and what he talks to Oliver about that last one, the one where he got shot by Diaz, where he knew that was the one that was different, and he wasn't going to fight it. That was his time, and he accepted that. Oliver really starts to grasp onto that, even after all this, after all of his efforts, that his fate, he's got to accept it. This is kind of, and they have a conversation, of course, where Lila tells him, you're the type of person, you will keep trying, you keep trying. He can tell you all kinds of things, but you won't really get it until he shows you. Because she, like Oliver, is doing this to protect their family. She's seen all this, and she even says she's been working with Monitor for a long time. So maybe longer than we've ever even seen her. It could go back to her previous deployment when she was calling out to those gods, like she was telling Laurel in the second episode of this season. So that very might have been when their relationship started, when she first knew about Crisis. Again, it's not confirmed. That's just an assumption, but Oliver comes to peace with it. He realizes Marnovu's doing all this to get him ready. They need him. He has to be ready for this. And that the previous missions up to this point have just been to prepare him. They might not be for what he intended. Even the creation of the antimatter weapon, which Oliver had intended to use against Monitor, was part of Monitor's plan. It just wasn't going to be used in the way that Oliver really intended to use it. So he's been aware of everything that's been going on. He's been pulling the strings on everything that's been going on. Even him asking Laurel to betray Oliver was another test. We learned that that was indeed a test to see if Laurel was ready, if she was ready for what's coming, if she would betray Oliver, and the test she passed. So she got her reward, which was seeing Lance in this moment, saying her goodbyes and getting that kind of reconciliation, which was really nice. So I guess this Monitor, for sure, at least has some kind of sympathetic qualities or empathetic qualities. And Oliver takes that to heart, accepts his place, what he needs to do, and in that moment, releases. And there's a great little moment. That's when Lila, after he's freed from the loop, that's when he has this conversation with Lila. We don't see Monitor in this episode, but they talk. That's when she explains about why she's been doing this and all that stuff. It's because he didn't have that. Sorry, I mixed that up. He didn't have the conversation with her beforehand that broke him out of the loop. He broke the loop because Lance pretty much told him, like, accept your fate. And that was when he knew he had to do it. He had to give up. He had to just accept that what was coming was coming. And then Lila, kind of as his reward for passing the test, finally, as hard-headed as Oliver is, and as much as we would like for him to fight it and be like the whole fight fate is what you make it kind of thing, they did concede that sometimes you do just have to give in. That was the lesson he had to learn. He had to realize that all of this was happening for a reason. It was tied to his fate, and he's just not escaping it, and he's just in denial on reality. And we got the answer to the kids. He was like, why did he get my kids involved? It was a gift to you. Time is a gift. And he gave you that time to get to know them before you go off to do what you need to do. So Monitor brought them here, maybe not even for that. So who knows? Zoe, unfortunately, is probably just dead in that future with JJ, and who knows what's going on there right now. I'm still really hoping that they go back and the future has been changed by these changes in the present, because things definitely aren't playing out the way they were, or at least the way we had heard they have played out in the future timeline. So I really hope they go back to something different. I want that timeline to go away, or at least just be completely different. Even though the new show, the spinoff, is going to be in 2040, dear God, give me a different 2040 than the one that we have seen up to this point, please. So after all is said and done, Oliver wakes up one more time, this time in a tent. Beside Laurel, they talk about what had happened, what they need to do. He talks to her about what he learned, that he just needed to accept what was going to happen. They leave the tent, and there's the team, and they're like, "Where are we?" Or Mia's like, "Where are we?" And Lian Yu. We're back on Lian Yu, right beside the actual Argus little prison topper where Slade had been. So I'm wondering, I'm really hoping Manu Bennett is back, and I hope Slade is there. I would love to see Deathstroke, even if it's not in the final season, have him actually play a part in Crisis. That would be so awesome. I really want to see that. But we're back where it all began on Lian Yu, and this kind of calls back to last episode too, because the last thing we know that Mia asked about when Oliver's like, "Fine, ask me anything, and I'll give you the answers that you want. I'm not going to hide anything about my past anymore." And she asked about Lian Yu. Well, guess what, Mia? You are stuck there too, thanks to the monitor and these little shenanigans that you're going about on. So I'm really looking forward to see what happens next episode. Just kind of coming back to where it all came full circle, back to Lian Yu. Not only is that something important for Oliver, that is also a very traumatic place for William, being the place where he lost his mother. Can't wait to see how that plays out. I'll honestly be a little disappointed if they don't get Manu Bennett to at least show up there, because he is such a key part of Oliver's past story and where this all goes and where he even started. And I know we got to see Shadow's grave. So I'm sure there's going to be some other callbacks as to that as well. Maybe this is even some other alternate version of the island. Who knows? I still like that the first one in episode 1 we got was the Earth 2 version of the island with the Batman mask, which I don't know how that works. Why Batman would have been on that island unless Batman was in this universe was actually was the Deathstroke mercenary killer guy instead of Slade Wilson. So who knows? But I really like this episode. This was a really good one. I liked every moment in this. And again, Katie Cassidy has a really emotional moment in this, and she does a really good job. And what did you guys think? I'm going to go ahead and pass this off to you guys. Now that we know the Monitor has just been testing Oliver this entire time, all of this has been preparing Oliver, kind of like one of the speculations we all had, kind of telling him what he needed to hear to be ready, giving him these missions, but them having like a double meaning or a double purpose to get him prepared. It ended up being the case, unless we say that Lyle is lying in this moment and that everything we learned in this episode was just another sham. But I think the lesson learned at the end of this episode is genuine. So I'm going to pass this off to you guys. What are your thoughts on the episode? So let's go ahead and take this conversation down into the comments, and I'll catch you guys next week on the next episode and the next video. So thank you guys for tuning in. As always, I appreciate everybody being here. If you like the video, be sure to support the channel by liking, commenting, subscribing. I love talking to you guys. I love having these conversations and thoughts and just discussions that we have in the comments, and just talking about the things I actually enjoy watching that I have time to talk about. There's so many shows that I do watch, but with this being the pinnacle, the end of a series I've followed for such a long time, I really like doing this for this specifically. If I ever had the time, I would try to do the other one. So Flash tonight was pretty awesome, but that's it. That's it for today, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. I will catch you guys in the next video. Take care, everybody.